Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Orange County Funding Corporation Audit Committee meeting. It is now 5:05 on Wednesday, March 5th, 2025. And we're going to ask Bill to do the roll call, please.
Yes, Dean Tambury,
Present.
Mark Green,
Present.
Jeff Christ.
Here.
Okay, we have two committee members present, one is absent tonight, and another board member, our chairman, Mr. Christ. For staff, we have myself, Bill Fioravanti, Kelly Riley, and Marty Barras, who's remote. We have our team, audiovisual team from acquisitions, marketing, Billy Iverson and Dylan Burke. We also have our state monitor, Victoria Barrett, joining us remotely, and our guests are our auditors from PKF, O'Connor Davies, Melissa Zott, and Colleen Harris. Is that everybody?
Yes.
I think that's it.
Yes, thank
Okay.
you, Bill. The proof of notice of this meeting was properly provided, and it's in our packet. Thank you, Bill. And we have minutes to be approved. The minutes are from March 13th, 2024 Audit Committee meeting. As you can see, we have these, don't have these meetings often, but we do have them. And this goes back to March 13th, 2024. And I'm gonna, unless anyone has any questions, I'd get a motion to accept the minutes of March 13th, 2024. And I guess it's up to us.
I will make that motion.
I'll second it. Any discussions?
No.
All right, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we just said it. Thank you. Motion passed. Those minutes are accepted. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
And new business, take over.
Yeah, this is our annual audit for 2024. This is our third year working with PKF. I think it's gone better every year, and it was a great year, very efficient. Many thanks to Kelly and Marty in our office, because their support is essential. They've got the hard work, for staff for this, for sure, and we appreciate it. But I think without further ado, we'll turn it over to PKF, please.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, I appreciate it. My name is Melissa Zott. I'm the engagement partner on the external audit. With me is Colleen Harris. She was the supervisor on the audit this year, and she was, again, the supervisor, I think, 2 years ago. What we've done is we've prepared a PowerPoint for you, so we will go over that first. The first page, or page 2, really is the agenda, or the table of contents. So today we're going to just go over some required communications as part of the external audit, and then we have some year-over-year change. So we'll go over the income statement, and then we'll go over the balance sheet changes. So on page 3, there are certain responsibilities as part of the external audit. First, management and those charged with governance, that would be the audit committee and the board, have certain responsibilities. First is making sure that the accounting policies are selected and appropriately implemented. Secondly, making sure that the financial statements that we have in draft form are fairly presented in accordance with the United States generally accepted accounting principles. Internal controls are always an important part of any organization, so making sure that you establish those controls as well as do a periodic review to make sure they're maintained and properly in place. Compliance with any laws or regulations or provisions of the contracts that you enter into. And then lastly, providing us as your external auditors with all of the financial records and any other information that we request. Again, we want to give a thank you to the IDA team, Bill, Kelly, and Marty. Without them, we couldn't really complete this. And Shannon as well, because she's the external CFO. So thank you so much for that. On page 4, we also have responsibilities as your external auditors. We are required to form and express an opinion. While the reports are in draft form, we do anticipate issuing an unmodified opinion. That's also referred to as a clean opinion, so it is the best opinion that the FC could receive. We also issue a yellow book report that's over the controls of the organization. We have prepared a draft management letter, which would include any communication of any deficiencies in internal controls. We report on your accounting policies, make sure that they're appropriate. And then any fraud or illegal acts that were noted during the audit, we would have communicated to you prior to today, so we're happy to report that there were none noted. We did not identify any significant difficulties as part of this audit. All misstatements that were identified, if any, were corrected. No disagreements with management, and we are required to maintain our independence with the organization. So I'll go ahead and hand it over to Colleen to address the year-over-year changes.
Okay, so on page 5, I'll start with the income statement changes, 24 versus 23. The thing that'll stick out to you most significantly on this page is the increase in professional fees. That is attributed to, as you know, the management fees that the IDA is charging the OCFC in 2024. That's about like almost 97,000 of that 120. The other changes, you'll note that there are some lines where there's no revenue this year. That's just inactivity in those accounts. And then the interest income, if you scroll down to the non-operating revenues, that's pretty much flat, and that'll make more sense when we go to the next page, page 6, where we look at the year-over-year change in the balance sheet. And right away you can see that in 23, the cash and cash equivalents was 1.3 versus this year 191,000. That's because in 2024, there were 2 U.S. Treasury bills that the OCFC went into. Last year it was just the CD. So that kind of explains that interest kind of remaining flat in the prior year. And that was the most significant thing on the balance sheet side. Everything else was just normal ebb and flow of transactions timing.
So that would be the, essentially all of the changes year over year. So you did, even though you had a significant amount of interest earnings, your net position did drop just about 39,000 this year. If there's, we can take questions on the numbers, otherwise we can move to the management letter, if you like.
I think I would just note that, I mean, we've talked before about sharing expenses, which we didn't before, and we think this amount is correct, and we're continuing forward with that. So that's some of the changes that are represented. So the only other question, and maybe this isn't, but it's like, so when is the final? You said this isn't, you know, when does that happen? It was after we approve it, or, you know, the rest of the board, or?
Sure, so we present the draft to the audit committee. After the draft, we are, I believe, waiting on a legal response. We basically reach out to your third-party attorney, make sure that there's no litigation outstanding that we'd have to disclose in the financial statements. If there are, we would update that accordingly. I think we're waiting on some final analytic responses from Shannon, so that shouldn't be too tough to get, and then we can issue final. Part of the finalization process is we would send Bill a management representation letter, and what that does is just represent that the OCFC has provided us all of the information, that everything provided is true and accurate, and he would sign that, and then we can issue final at that point.
And that's gonna happen before our full board meeting, Bill, or would that happen
Yes.
after?
Before.
Okay.
So if we move on to this document, this would be the report to Bill Charter of Governance, and it also includes our management letter. On page 2 is just a letter to the OCFC, just thanking you for allowing us to provide you this service. Page 3 is a table of contents. Page 4 is some of the status of the audit. So essentially, we will be issuing an unmodified opinion. You do have your Paris report that is due by March 31st. Page 5, the next couple of pages, these are the required communications. Most of these I represented to you in the bullet points in the PowerPoint, just to kind of simplify it. I do want to point out number 8. On page 8, there are some significant risks. We do perform a risk-based audit. So as part of that audit procedure, we identify the risks associated with the OCFC, and you'll see similar risks in the IEDA. Generally, the first one, management, override of internal controls. Management generally has access to a majority of the controls and the processes in place. However, we are required to perform certain procedures to overcome those risks. So we did apply audit procedures for this risk, and we did not identify any issues with the internal controls specific to the management override. The next significant risk is improper revenue recognition due to fraud. This is a risk that's essentially presumed to be a high risk by the AICPA. So if there's any fraudulent activity or any improper revenue recognition, we have to design specific audit procedures to help overcome this risk as well. So we are happy to report that we did design those procedures, we performed them, and we did not identify any issues related to this. On page 10, this is our opinion on internal control over financial reporting. We are happy to note, first, there are 3 different levels. Material weakness would be the most severe level. Your significant deficiency would be the level below that. And then you have just control deficiencies, which are usually best practices at this point. We are happy to report that we did not identify any items to be material weakness, as well as we did not identify any other deficiencies as part of this audit process. Otherwise, they would be listed behind this opinion.
Okay.
And then page 11 and 12, these are just upcoming GASBs that would impact the OCFC. Again, they are similar to the IDA as well. If you have certain risk disclosures, that's GASB 102. So if you have a concentration in a specific revenue or in a specific expenditure, that would obviously create an additional risk to the organization if those ended up not coming to fruition. And then GASB 103 is related specific to the management discussion and analysis. It provides additional changes. The other thing that would impact you, I believe that would be the only thing on here. So we would work with OCFC if we move forward.
Excuse me, so these are new, this is new for this cover, this was part of this?
So it would be new going forward.
Going
So
forward.
if you look at the bolded sentence, GASB 102 is effective for your December 31st, 2025, and then GASB 103 is December 31st, 2026.
Okay.
What's fortunate about GASB is they'll issue these in advance, you have time to prepare and implement them accordingly. If we move to page 13, these are just an adjustment that we posted to essentially record the treasury bills at fair market value, and then your CDs do earn interest quarterly, so we accrued that interest as well. And that was the only adjustment that we saw during this audit. As I spoke to in Appendix 2, the management representation letter, that would be the following pages, so this is essentially what Bill would sign to represent that he's provided everything to us. And that would be the conclusion of that. So I think that really concludes our presentation on the OCFC.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
All right, so it's actually to Bill and to you all, and I'll ask the same question again in the IDA. How woven are, the recommendations that we've gotten from Anshin? I mean, are they aware of I guess what I'm trying to say is, as we continue to do best practices,
Yes.
right? That Anshin said, you guys are fine, but you could be better. As we continue to do those dovetail with this process or with requirements? I'm trying to see that there's some positivity
Yeah.
to make up a win.
I would say that on the whole, there's very little overlap.
Okay.
There are certainly on some financial controls, things like that, but I would say that Anshin is focused on so many other areas. For example, this last quarter, a lot of drilling down on our local labor policy and adherence to that, monitoring of that. Those aren't things that they're specifically examining. So I would say it's more operational, what Anshin is looking at, and again, they're looking at everything. It's pretty comprehensive, so there's a little overlap, but not a lot,
Okay.
generally. Would you agree, Kelly? Yeah.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Good question, thank you. With that, I'd like to, Mark, I'd like to ask for a motion.
No
Focus
pressure.
to bring this report to the full board for approval at our next meeting.
I will make that motion.
I'll second it.
Fantastic.
All in favor?
I am in favor.
Me
Aye.
too. Thank you very much. And then I'll ask for a motion, I'll make the motion to adjourn, the meeting. Is there something else?
Still need a second? No, we're good.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting, at 5:20 PM.
I will second that.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Meeting for the, Orange County Funding Corporation has ended, and you do not, did you want it cut to move, or you want to continue?